With the cardiopulmonary service department. We deal with any of the patients that come to the hospital as an outpatient or an inpatient with any respiratory problems.
I do a lot of the assessments and things like that. I have a great staff who helps me with the planning of the activities.
I am the prior authorization representative. I do surgical associates, orthopedics, and OBGYN.
Anything that you can think of with anesthesia, I am credentialed and trained and prepared to do.
I am the EMS operations supervisor. I run the day-to-day operations for the EMS.
I could work in any department, any person's job. I can get a call at 4 a.m. and have to be somebody else. So I basically clean everywhere in the building.
Teamwork is definitely way up high on the list of things that we need to do in a hospital. And here I've really felt that nurses, doctors, social workers, purchasing, everybody throughout, I've been able to call on anybody here and you get to know them after a period of time, and I've always had a real helpful response. They're willing to help whatever you need for that patient.
I think it's good customer service, just spending a little bit of time talking to them and listening to them. And we like them to have a good experience here and want to come back. We want to be their provider.
This organization is willing to invest in you. We want to offer the best possible experiences to not only the patients, but our coworkers. We want to be there for them. We want them to feel like we care about their needs.
Our goal for our team is to give the residents that are here purpose in their life. We work a lot with the families to make sure that we're meeting the needs of those people also.
If you're patient focused, everything else is kind of secondary and everyone's striving for the same goal. There is one patient in particular I remember because I worked with her in pulmonary rehab quite often, and so got to know her pretty well and how her family situation, all that was. And then I was working in the emergency room one day when she came into the emergency room on a gurney, and I always remember seeing her. I said, oh, how are you doing? You know, I'm here, we're gonna help you. And she just looked at me and said, oh, I'm so glad to see you, and I know that you guys here will help me. So it was nice to know that you made enough of a difference that when she looked at me, she said, oh, thank goodness you're here. I'm going to be okay now. So that was very rewarding for me.
This year I said I would really like it if we could celebrate our veterans here. We gathered all the residents and they did the 21 gun salute for us out of our back patio. And then they also called off each veteran's name and where they served. We had a CNA who got the idea. We had a little table set up, and she got the idea to bring one of the residents' pictures out from the service. And so then everybody started gathering pictures, and we had a table with their pictures on it. They were just lit right up. And we had one man that sits with his head down most of the time, and when they called his name, his hand went up like, here I am. It was great. It was like a tearjerker, and other people recognized it too, and there was a lot of pride here that day. It was just really special for the residents and for the staff.
We had an OB patient who unfortunately had lost her insurance, and so I helped her go to the website to get help or where to find help, and we kind of coordinated that all together. She's very appreciative. She's got kids at home, she's pregnant, and we got it all figured out, and she got the insurance.
People will have perhaps a diagnosis, and this is where that feeling of empathy comes in, and just being able to listen that I'm sorry, that this is a diagnosis that's new to them, that's a situation, that I've had where a new diagnosis of breast cancer. That's very hard. We give that patient the listening ear, the empathetic heart that they need. And we may not always see the benefit of that right away, but hopefully that patient goes away knowing that they're valued and that they are respected and that they are well on their way to recovery.
I was at an open house for the Portage Fire Department, and every October they have a open house. And I was standing there next to the ambulance, and this little girl, she was about 5 years old, came up and ran up and gave me a hug and says, thank you. And her mom came over with a tear in her eye, and her mom just gave me a huge hug. I had taken this little girl down to the Children's Hospital that couple weeks earlier, that just, she was very sick. And the little girl didn't remember me, but the mom did. The mom had actually beat cancer, and the mom and I talked about it on the way down. And then for her little girl to be going through this illness, and me being able to be a part of that, because the mom was actually in the back of the ambulance with us because she was so little. And those are the things that make us do what we do. We do see bad calls. We have to understand that sometimes we can't help everybody, but the ones that we do help make the biggest difference in the world.
I like their whole philosophy of, healing not just the body, but the mind and the soul. I'm more of the positive attitude. Negativity, I think, just brings you down. But people here can bring you up, or I want to bring a person up who's not having a good day. I think positivity just makes the world go round.
We need to treat each other with respect and dignity and be treated how we want to be treated, because that's going to translate into better patient care, and patients are going to see that. One thing I always have to remember is it's not my emergency, it's their emergency. So no matter how small the call is, we're there for them. And so that's what we do. We take care of people.
I have cried with patients. I have held their hands. I have, they've prayed. They have poured out things to me. And in my role, that's something that I really appreciate.
Each individual employee goes out of their way to make sure that the patient, to make sure that each other, the co-workers, are cared for and in a kind, respectful manner.
It's kind of like this community owns this hospital. It's a happy place. I love my job. It's just a good place to work.
It's not just about having a job, but it is about making a difference in people's lives. The relationships that I've formed with the residents, I look at it as though, even though they're not here with me anymore, I'm glad that I was able to make a difference in their lives.
It's important for us to come, I think, to work, to give.